Very, very interesting. The Vigil is written and directed by Keith Thomas in his feature film debut, and in opening text we find out that the Vigil has been practiced for thousands of years by religious Jewish people. It's a ritual where, after somebody in the Jewish community passes on, a shamer, a friend, or family member will basically watch over the body, read psalms, scripture, and comfort the body, send the body and soul into the afterlife, and also protect it from unseen evil. So you already know from that opening description some fucked up shit may be happening, as is tradition with a lot of horror movies like this. And in the case of a family member or friend being unavailable, a paid shamer will come around to watch over your loved one. And we then focus on the main character of Yakov, or Yakov, depending on who pronounces it, played by Dave Davis. And he's struggling financially. He tells this to his friends, including a pretty blonde girl named Sarah that he likes, that he's unsure how to talk to because he's socially awkward. I can identify with that. I think many people can. And struggling financially, he has to sometimes choose between medications and meals. That is something that people can identify with because money can be tight sometimes. And he meets he runs into an old friend that he knows, a rabbi, who offers him a job as a paid shamer, who basically watch over the body of a man named Reuben Litvak, because his wife, Mrs. Litvak, played by Lynn Cohen, in a terrific role, by the way, can't really, do much with him because she has some bad dementia. I mean, they figure out why a little bit later, but she's not really in the best state to watch over her late husband, and also she's grieving. So Yakov comes over. She immediately says, "You need to leave. There is no reason for you to be here. Whatever, you told me you were going to get a shamer." And no, he needs to leave. He needs to leave now. Usually when somebody tells you to leave with that much insistence, especially in a horror movie, you better goddamn well leave. But he doesn't leave because he needs the money. He ends up negotiating the price from $200 up to $400, but he wanted $500. But he takes it because he's desperate for the money. And I will say that once things get rolling, this movie actually turns out to be a pretty good haunted house movie. And since it's usually in just one location, outside of like maybe the first 15 minutes, it's actually really effective. And as far as you making a movie on a shoestring budget like this, Keith Thomas and his cinematographer do a really good job making the most of this as far as being in one location, because it's not easy to do that. And they come up with creative ways as to why these particular people stay in this one location. Because usually the question in a lot of horror movies is like, okay, we know it's one location. Why don't you just leave? Oh, we can't leave because we can't afford to shoot anywhere else. That's not the case here. There is some unseen force that is locking people in this house that makes sure that anybody that tries to leave, it will wreck your body and it will make you stay back because it wants something from you. But what does it want from you? We will figure this out here in a little bit. There will be spoilers a little bit later. But Yakov does have some stuff in his past that we find out in the second and third act. He is a tortured soul, even though he is, devout Jew. He is, he's still struggling with some stuff, and we find out a little bit later. I do want to say that Dave Davis does terrific work here, and Lynn Cohen particularly does well also, because she is obviously a tortured woman that just lost her husband, and obviously, being tortured and being in some kind of creepy house with something, that you want to save people from. Like, yeah, you might be a little bit thrown off your rocker, especially when you've lost somebody you've been married to for so goddamn long. She captures that perfectly. Dave Davis also captures the stuff perfectly of being somebody that is struggling with his faith, having a crisis of faith, whether it's Judaism, Catholicism, Christianity, whatever faith you practice. It's always going to be a struggle to, have a crisis of faith. And many people get tested like that. And if religion, does good stuff for you, that's great. And in this, though, the only issue I had with this movie is I felt after a while they were running out of steam and ways to, basically keep people in the house, and they were kind of stretching it out. At times, it felt like a full-fledged movie. A couple times, it felt a bit like a concept where they were like, okay, we have the bare bones of something and we need to rely on effective performances. That being said, that's really my only criticism of this movie. This is pretty damn terrific. For just under 90 minutes, this is pretty damn terrific. It's really effective. It's actually a lot scarier than I expected. And it's PG-13. PG-13 horror movies are hard to pull off, and this movie manages to do it pretty damn well. So I gotta say, as far as PG-13 horror movies, I was pretty damn impressed with this, and Keith Thomas has a bright future in Hollywood. He understands how to do psychological horror and understands how to do a lot of, really good stuff, on shoestring budgets and otherwise. So I want to see what he can do with a bit of a bigger budget, because he's got the talent. And, Dave Davis and Lynn Cohen did a really good job, and other, actors did a good job too, but those were the two main characters. So anyway, I'm going to get into spoilers here in a little bit, but I will say this was effective. Much more than, it wasn't effective. There were, again, a few moments where I was like, okay, I didn't really jump, but it was nice and kind of unnerving at times because you just wanted to see what happened. Even though it was slow burn at first, it didn't feel like it was really insulting your intelligence, which is a good thing. So anyway, I'm going to get into spoilers right now. So yeah, if you're still watching, sorry, spoilers, here we go. All right, anyway, so this isn't going to take very long because Yakov has been dealing with a crisis of faith. It turns out that he had a little brother, and that little brother got involved in a bit of a dust-up while he was there. Some thugs were bothering him because they hate Jewish people. I don't know why somebody would hate people just because they're Jewish. I don't fucking understand it. They cut off the boy's hair while Yakov is like, shoved down on the street and everything. And then the boy tries to run away and gets hit by a car. That has been haunting Yakov. And there is something in this house. It's a demon called the Mazik that feasts on the agony and the pain of anybody, regardless of what they've been suffering from. It latches on, it doesn't let go. And in a video by Ruben Litvak, while he was obviously still alive, he is talking about how if you don't burn the true face of the demon before dawn on the first day, it will never let you go. So naturally, we know right away, about halfway through the movie, what needs to happen. What's nice about this is it effectively, does some good stuff with shadows and everything and creepiness without going too ridiculous. And I like that about the movie because sometimes these movies can be very pretentious and hit you over the head with the religion. This movie doesn't do that. It honors it, and I think, does a really good job showing what, a crisis of faith can do, and you can either turn away from it or you can confront an ultimate evil and confront your past and get past it. And sure, it falls back on the usual Hollywood tropes, but it does some good stuff. And there's one particular line just before he finds out about the Mazik, where she said, they're nightmares, they're memories, not your memories. Basically, she drove her children away because she didn't want her children to be haunted by this thing. And the demon will find another host. The Mazik will find another host. It's obviously Yakov. And basically, it's a banshee and ends up attacking, doing some, crazy stuff and everything. And then the doctor calls and is talking to him and it's like, hey, this thing, you didn't watch this video, did you? Where the thing turns its true face around because it has its true face facing away. So it's a blank face here, blank face, and its true face is on the back. And if you burn the true face on the back, then you beat the demon. And the doctor, it's the demon calling on the phone because demons figured out technology pretty damn well. And then he calls that girl Sarah, and then she's saying, you didn't save your brother. You didn't save him. And then he's pretty much losing his mind. He even tries to leave the house, gets his body contorted and busted up, and then is basically calling people, trying to figure this out. He's trying not to lose his mind. And then Mrs. Litvak is upstairs and basically hands him some Jewish practice stuff, including a candle, to go confront the demon, go confront the Mazik in, the attic in somewhere. In a really, really long hallway. And actually it was a pretty effective scene where he's walking forward and it's obvious he sees this candle there. It's the Mazik holding the candle. Once it turns its face around, he burns its true face. And it just freaks out. And then he's saying psalms over the body, the broken body and everything, and doing this stuff because he felt so bad. He was he confronted his fear about what happened with his brother, and he's just doing this. He's trying to beat back this demon. And he finally does it, and he saves the body, and just keeps screaming, let him go, let him go, let him go, and does really, really good stuff. And it turns out that this Mazik confronted Ruben while he was in World War II, and yeah, this was a really, really scary shit, actually. I will say this movie did get under my skin more often than not. And I won't say, obviously, it's a perfect movie. Again, I did state my issues. I think they ran out of steam at points, but they gained it right back. So while not perfect, certainly effective. And Yakov basically goes off and does his own thing. He texts Sarah about getting coffee, and there we go. That's it right there. Effective movie, really good atmosphere, really good acting by Dave Davis and Lynn Cohen, and the other actors, supporting actors, are fine. But yeah, Keith Thomas should be getting more opportunities in Hollywood, so hopefully he does, because this is a good feature film debut. Not a lot of people knock it out of the park, and he really does. B+. Even with the criticisms, absolutely B+. Very effective. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.